So I've had a couple days to think about this heater box situation. It doesn't fit. In fact, it doesn't even come close to fitting. Look how far off that is from fitting. It's funny actually, I went on Austin's video on YouTube just a couple days ago, just to see if there are any recent comments about the car. And there were a couple of new comments on there of people going, oh look, it has the wrong heater boxes on it. Like, okay, yeah. It's like the muffler's too wide for the heater boxes. Now, we've all figured that out together. It has the wrong heater boxes on it. And, you know, when they swapped the engine, clearly they didn't swap the heater boxes. And as it turns out, there's a reason for that, because reconditioned heater boxes aren't cheap. I'm looking at $400 to replace the heater boxes with the correct ones. Now, this is very similar to the decision about the carburetor, right? The twin choke carburetor. Is it worth $400, $500, $600 to have just that slightly better carburetor on the car? I don't think so. Honestly, I really don't think so. And this is a similar thing, right? I mean, there's no performance hit from having these heater boxes on. They just don't quite fit. So I don't think it's worth, for the originality's sake or for any other reason, to try to get the right heater boxes put on. So what I'm going to do is put the old muffler on, take it to a muffler shop, and see what they would charge to just cut the one that I have, weld in some extension pieces and just make it fit. And I guarantee it'll be $100 or less. There's a good muffler shop near where I live, so I'll take it to them and we'll figure it out. Dear Jesus, please give us a safe journey. Oh man. All right, let's go. And the muffler shop, when I spoke to them, basically looked at it and they were highly amused by it. But they basically said, yeah, we're gonna have to weld it in place. It looks like it's close to all sorts of things that, we don't want to set fire to. So, yeah, it could be 2 to 4 hours of work and it's probably gonna be like $200 to $400 cost. It's like, well, that's not worth it. It's not worth it. I'd much rather just buy the heater boxes that I need and do that. But like, I'm just throwing money at this car. And I feel like every time I think there's an end to it, I'm just throwing more money at it and more time with no benefit. So if I were to draw a graph of my satisfaction with this car, it would be an all-time low, and I'm feeling very despondent about it. Most cars that I've had trouble with, I've had an opportunity to start to get to know and love before they start giving me trouble. And then you weigh up the cost benefit, because the benefit is you love it. It's a labor of love. It's worth pouring money into. This car, I just haven't even had the opportunity to really get to know it and love it yet. And I've worked hard to solve the problems. But the worst thing in the world is when you think you've solved a difficult problem and then it comes back. So I put the old muffler on it. I want to take it to the muffler shop. It hasn't run in a couple of weeks. And, I just want to run it. It was fine. And now it's playing silly buggers again. This is the carburetor that works, and I don't understand it. What's this? I mean, that is ridiculous. Why this carburetor? So the 12-mile drive, I mean, full throttle, it's good. Idling, it's good. Part throttle, it's just so lean. I just don't get it. I don't want to have to open the carburetor up. I'm going to have to. Anyway, then there's the fact that the wheels don't feel balanced. I got these new tires on, and when I got the tires back from the tire place, I noticed that there were no weights on them, which I thought was a bit curious. And of course, it's dawned on me that, well, of course, it has 3 lug nuts. How are they going to put a wheel with 3 lug nuts onto their balancing machine? I bet that they just couldn't, and so they didn't bother. And, Oh, here comes a DeLorean. Holy moly. Good grief. Fast forward a month and it's mid-November. Now the van in the last month has excelled itself. We drove it to Utah for the week of the election, and it was a 3,000 mile round trip. It got us over mountain passes, it got us through snow, it got us off-road. it's not the best car. There are plenty of other cars I would rather have driven 3,000 miles in, but as a camper and as a classic vehicle, it's just brilliantly reliable, and I love it for that. There's something very rewarding about a car that you know every single nook and cranny of, that you've been maintaining and that just works. So moving on from that to this, we're nowhere near that here. I mean, I have some satisfaction that there are some jobs that have been done. But if we think about the goals that we've been trying to achieve, we're still so far from really where I want to be with this. I mean, I think we can kind of say that we did too. The ill-fated drive to the cider pressing was more than 10 miles technically, although I wouldn't say it was a successful drive. Now, the thing that we left off about a month ago was the heater boxes. I have since bitten the bullet and bought 2 proper heater boxes, so they're the right ones for this engine. And so the next thing to do is just to tear this all down and fit them. Now, while I'm doing that, I also plan to take out the inlet manifold. It's possible that it's got a slight crack in it. I just don't know. But while I've got this stripped down, it makes sense to me to take that out and just at least just give it a closer look over, put new gaskets in, put it all back together, and maybe it'll work better. Okay. Here is the answer to the question of whether my inlet manifold can hold a vacuum. It appears that it can. I've even tried heating it up with a blowtorch to see if I can make any cracks worse. I mean, I have a very, very slight leak, but given the brewing equipment Heath Robinson nature of how I've sealed it with duct tape and random bits of pipe, I'd say that's holding a vacuum pretty well. So I've put the manifold back in place and I'm pressuring it to see if I can find a leak with it in place. I'm pressuring it with 10 psi of carbon dioxide, and there is quite a big leak. On this side here, you can hear it. Now this is with a brand new gasket and with both of these bolts torqued to 14 psi, which is what the Haynes says they should be torqued to. Now, I really don't want to torque these any more than that because it already felt like more than enough. So it's very curious that I have such an obvious leak here. Okay, I checked on the forums and 3 things came up. One, the alignment of the cylinder heads with the manifold. You can loosen the bolts very slightly and just make sure these are aligned. So that's a good check to do. They mentioned that a little bit of high temperature ATV is not necessarily a bad thing. And also, I double checked that my metal surfaces were scrupulously clean. And I did find a little bit of caked on dirt on this one, which may well have accounted for some of the gap there. Anyway, so I've put it all back together. I've tightened it down and we get to test it. So we should be able to put it up to 10 psi, which is what I had it at the last time. So I'm just going to turn on my gas. Okay, so that's about 10 psi. It seems like a reasonable pressure for it to hold. Like if it can't hold that, it's no good at all. And what I can do now is just spray a little bit of Star San or soapy water on here. And there's no fizzing, no bubbles at all on that side. What about on this side? No, that's fine. Oh, look, they're kissing. How cute is that? All right, well, you were looking at my Citroen with pretty much everything built back up again. Now, one of the things I really appreciated putting this back together is just how much easier it is to access the heater boxes than it is on the van. Now, as much as I praise the van for being brilliant in its own way, the heater boxes are a real pain to access just because they're under the car, they're at the back. And the nice thing about these is that I was actually able to not only access them, but get around here. You'll see I managed to free up the cables and look at this. Oh, look at this, they actually work. They actually work. So I should be able to get heat. So the next step is to start this thing and tune it. Well, looky here, we have a car that's idling. I can actually hear the engine sound for once. I have a reasonable air-fuel ratio and good voltage. So here's the interesting thing. I've tuned it as best I can so that I get a good AFR throughout like normal rev range. So that's good. But in order to get that like good mixture, I've got to have a really rich idle, which is odd because adjusting this makes it leaner, but it makes it leaner across the whole rev range. And if I lean it out much more than what it is, then it sputters at low RPM. It's too lean at low RPM. Now if I lean out the bottom screw, then again, that can lean it out at idle, but it means that at low revs, it's too lean. So I just have to live with this big rich idle just for now, while I drive this around a little bit and see how it works. So I've run it up and down the road a little bit, and I'm pretty happy with where I've got it tuned right now. It seems to have decent power, it seems to cruise pretty well, it's idling fine. So I'm going to just not pay attention for now to what the AFR gauge is saying and go with kind of this gut feel. That is a rich idle. The heater is interesting. It definitely is opening the flaps, and I know this because it becomes much louder when the heater's on, because I can hear quite a bit of noise from the engine. Now, I'm suspicious that maybe is why it comes with a set of muffled heater pipes, because maybe it's not for keeping the warmth in, but it's actually to absorb the sound. That's maybe possible because it is flipping noisy. But I think I'm going to put the wings on and just take it for a proper drive, which would be a novel thing to do. But I think, yeah, I think I'm going to try.